Good afternoon, you ruddy lovely people, and welcome along to your match debrief for Tottenham Hotspur's 4-2 loss at Molineux yesterday. 24 hours have gone by. Have I calmed down? Have I, bugger? I'm still frustrated about yesterday. I really am. That's our 17th loss now in the Premier League, our 21st in all competitions. And I've heard a lot of people saying, why are you getting annoyed? Why are fans getting annoyed about this loss? It didn't mean anything, we can't achieve anything in the Premier League. And I would have understood that argument more if this loss was in 2-3 weeks, if this loss was 2-3 weeks ago. But we've got a massive game coming up this Thursday. This game is in the middle of our two biggest games in years. We need to take confidence to that away game against Frankfurt. Our away form is pathetic, and a win here at Molineux, albeit, as I say, not a necessarily tough away ground to go to, but not an easy one either, it would have given the players confidence. It would have given us as fans confidence. It would have given us something to make us really believe as a club that we can go to Frankfurt and get a result. Instead, we got took apart and conceded 4 goals. And those Wolves fans have made a quarter of the noise that the Frankfurt ones are going to make on Thursday. We needed to take confidence into Thursday's game. And this game meant a lot more than recent ones and ones that will come up this season, because it was sandwiched in between the two. And if anything, we've knocked our confidence down more than given ourselves some. So just a pathetic display. It really was. I bet you any money there is an Ange Postecoglou action figure out there somewhere in the world, like Woody from Toy Story. If you pull the string on his back, he comes out with a different excuse every time. Every time there'd be a different excuse. You pull the string on his back, 1 minute he's coming out with, well, we've got loads of injuries. The next minute you pull the string, we've got a mole in the camp. There's someone leaking toys. And I don't know who it is. And then the next minute you pull the string, it's the pitch, mate. I don't know what's going on. It's a very difficult pitch to navigate. Maybe Ange Postecoglou. The problem is your persistence with tactics that don't work at the top level. They may have worked in Australia, they may have worked in Japan, they may have worked in Scotland, but they're not going to work in the Premier League and at the top level of European football, mate. Because you do not adapt, you do not tweak, you play the exact same way week after week. And it took about 8 to 10 games last season for teams to figure us out. And since, we've been unbelievably predictable and unbelievably bad. This season, it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. If you're coming up against Spurs, if I'm an opposition manager, I'm saying, there's a game plan and a blueprint there that if I don't use, I'm an idiot. Target their wings, because their wing backs inverted to the midfield, so they're going to leave loads of space in the wide areas. Press high, try and win it off them in transition, and when you do, quickly play it to the wings as quick as possible. You're bound to score goals. Wolves did it yesterday, I'll put up a freeze frame from one of their goals. Lily Phillips FC, we were so open at the back, man. So much space, and I'm just sick and tired of watching us being taken apart by the same goal week after week. How is Ange Postecoglou not looking at us conceding the same goal week after week? Teams winning it off us in transition and quickly playing it to their fast wingers because our wing backs aren't out there, and going, okay, how do I fix this problem? Maybe if for this game, because they've got a quick winger on that right hand side, I keep Porro out wide a little bit more, and maybe invert Udoji if they've got a slower player on that left hand side, or don't invert either for this game and have the wingers up top invert and play them as inside forwards. But no, it's the same way game after game, and then when it doesn't go his way, every excuse under the sun comes out. What made me really get behind this fella at the beginning of last season, like so many others, was his humble nature. He came across relatable, he came across like someone you'd have a pint with down the pub and have a natter about the football too. The football was beautiful as well. Obviously, that was the main reason we got behind him, but there felt a real unity between the fans and the manager. And this season, when things haven't been going well, he's reverted, against everything that made us get behind him last season. His humble nature, not blaming the ref, not blaming the officials. He does it every week, not using excuses. He talks about injuries and pitches now, talking about how important the fans are. He's cupping his ears at them at Stamford Bridge. Everything that made us get behind this fella, it's now the complete opposite. And I really don't like this condescending nature, He comes out a lot now, and it's almost like he's ridiculously patronising towards fans, as if he's got some superior knowledge of football, right? No manager has any right to call out fans, in my opinion, unless they're literally like abusing family members and that manager constantly. But I haven't necessarily seen that from fans in the ground. And just snapped like a breadstick when someone said, "What was that, mate?" at Fulham. So he's clearly pretty touchy and can't really deal with constructive criticism. But as I was saying, I digress. What made us really like this guy was the connection he had to the fans, and now he's constantly patronising towards them. He constantly that sort of attitude of you don't understand football like I do. Pipe down, mate. If a manager like Conte or Jose were doing that, I'd be annoyed, because no manager has a right to talk to fans who are paying their hard-earned money to watch their team put out that pile of pygmy hippo feces. No manager has a right to talk to fans like that. But at least you could sort of say they know what they're on about. They're successful winners everywhere they've been. You've been successful in Japan, mate. You've been successful in Scotland, in Australia. And then you get fans saying, don't call out those leagues. You know, you can't have a go at Ange for those leagues. They're very credible leagues. They're not. Come on, man. Don't kid yourself. They're not credible leagues. Did I hold it against him when he first came into the job? No. Because like any other manager who comes into this club, I want to give them a chance and I want to give them the best support I possibly can at the beginning. But let's be real about it. The Scottish League is not a good league. There are 2 teams that win the league. Pretty much one in Celtic. Rangers barely win anything. Who else is in that league? Hibernian Hearts, they might cause a few problems every now and again. Aberdeen, but St Johnstone, St Mirren, the absolute world beaters that they are. How many Japanese teams can you lot watch in the video name? I can't barely name any. Yokohama, Tokyo FC, I don't know. Genuinely Australia, Melbourne something, Sydney something, I don't know. You know, they're hardly world beaters. You hardly see kids running around in the streets wearing Australian League t-shirts because they're aspiring to be the legendary players that are at those clubs. He's never managed at the top level. Now that he has, he can't understand and deal with the fact that his way that has served him so well in his whole career isn't working at the top level. So he lashes out at fans, he uses and journalists, he uses every excuse under the sun, apart from the fact that his system does not work at the top level and he is simply not good enough. I wish him all the best wherever he goes after Spurs. I hope he's successful, but this man has to go. You know, a lot of us were hoping for him to be sacked this morning. Obviously, he's not been. He's going to be here for Thursday. If I can try and have the most positive outlook as possible heading into Thursday, if we win, fantastic. We're in the semi-final of the Europa League. I'll be buzzing for that. Probably Bodo Glimt. We've got a real chance of winning it despite how bad this season's been. We go there and lose, which I'm probably expecting, I'll hesitantly say, after our away performance against Wolves. That away ground is going to be so much more difficult to navigate than Molineux. Those fans are going to be screaming at our players, whistling at them for 90 minutes. So if we do go out, then we're pretty much guaranteed to look at Sky Sports the next morning and see that Ange Postecoglou is gone. And then finally, a lot of us as fans can start to feel that emotional connection to the club again, start to actually look forward to Spurs, look to the future, what's going to happen next, who's going to come in next, a bit of excitement about the club, which I haven't felt for so long. I haven't celebrated goals with my dad the last few months, you know, and that pains me. Because that's something I've always had, no matter how bad the football's been or no matter how much we've struggled. But we just both feel so emotionless about this manager and the state of the club right now. And I'm just so sick and tired of this rubbish week after week, these crap performances, this patronising nature towards the fans. You know, the owners, which are the biggest problem. It's all contributed to me sat there watching Spurs games like a neutral. You can call me a fake supporter or not a true supporter if you like, but I love this club. I live and breathe this club. And that's why it pains me so much that I'm not emotionally invested in games like I want to be right now. The club's just an absolute mess. Obviously, the biggest problem are the owners, but I mean, this manager's got to go. This manager's got to go. Look, try and talk about the game a little bit. We concede 1 minute in. Fantastic start. I think Vicario's got to do a lot better. I don't know why he's off his line there. And when he pushes it away, it's been a big problem of his since joining Spurs. Shot stopping wise, one of the best in the league, in my opinion. One of the best. Claiming the ball, though, commanding his box, he's not great. He's really not great. And it leads back to that problem that I've mentioned so many times. We don't have a leader on the pitch. Now, you don't necessarily need your leader to be in goal, but a goalkeeper who's commanding his box, who late in a game when they get the ball goes down on it and waits a few seconds and then punts it long. Someone who, when a cross goes near him, you know is going to come up and claim it in the air. Be the bigger man, you know, show some strength, show some muscle. Players are targeting Vicario because they know he's a little bit of a wimp. They know he's a little bit soft. They know if they push him and shove him a little bit, he ain't going to be able to deal with it. And he ends up conceding so many goals because he flaps at the ball, bloody Flappy Bird, and can't deal with it. It's just so frustrating, man. It's so frustrating. I mean, it's a decent finish from Molineux, who I think is a pretty good wing-back, in all honesty, but Vicario should do a lot better. They go 2-0 up, Vicario again with a crap pass out. Could have conceded a few minutes earlier thanks to Vicario, but it's a crap pass out. Jed Spencer ends up being an own goal for him. I'm not sure what much more he can do there, in all honesty. Show a little bit of fight in the second half. Matisse Tell scores in the 59th minute. That lasted, I think, 5 minutes. Strand Larsen then puts the game to bed. Crap from Romero, the so-called world-class defender. Romero's good at best. And I think in a better system, a different system, he would be a better player. But do I think he's world-class? No. Oh, he's great for Argentina. Don't care. He's not great for Spurs. If we're going to have the attitude of Lo Celso needs to go because he's not good enough for Spurs, despite what he does for Argentina, we can't constantly talk about Romero being a World Cup winning captain when he puts in bad performances for the football club that most of us love. So, crap from him there. Show a little bit of fight again, make it 3-2, and then a minute later, just as we finish watching the replays from Richarlison's header, the game is put to bed by Matheus Cunha, who's a fantastic player. I mean, he's been getting into it in Instagram comments recently, but I really think he'll be leaving Wolves in the summer. I don't know why players get so caught up in that sort of thing. It really is stupid. But I think he'll be leaving Wolves in the summer. No disrespect to Wolves, but I think he'd be successful at a club like Arsenal. I think he'd be successful at a club like Liverpool. I wouldn't be surprised if a club like Atletico Madrid try and snap him up. Someone with a bit of venom in them, someone with a bit of fight, a bit of nastiness, but also a clinical quality finisher. So, be interesting to see what happens with Cunha. Good finish from him. And yeah, the game finishes 4-2. Credit to Wolves. Vitor Pereira's done fantastic there. And I do get that they're on a great run of form, right? 4 wins in a row now after yesterday. You know, you look at their form chart, it's literally all green, apart from one grey area. But they're still below us. They're still 17th in the league. They've still been in the relegation battle, and they're still an average side despite the fact they've been on good form and despite the fact they're on a good run with their new manager. You know, they're a team that we should be beating. And the fact that we go to grounds like Molineux, the fact we go to grounds like Craven Cottage, I get that Fulham are a better team, but my point is we go to these grounds that a few years ago we would have just written off as 3 points or at least get a point, and we just expect us to be outplayed and lose 2-0 or something like that, lose by 2 goals. The lack of expectation now really is shining because of the lack of standards at the football club, and it really does need to be sorted out. Look, not the longest video today. I'm going to shoot off. Take care of yourselves. Have a smashing rest of your day. Match preview coming up for Frankfurt over the next few days, and then obviously a match reaction on Thursday. Hopefully we can pull off a miracle. We'll have to wait and see though. Take care, guys, and as always, Comedy Spurs.